I'll never forget the moment I caught Karen invading my life, not storming in herself, but sending a drone to hover over my ranch like some low-budget supervillain gadget straight out of a comic book. Its tiny camera glinted in the sun, practically winking at me with smug defiance. I'm Jake Miller, and if you've ever wondered what happens when a small-town tyrant with a clipboard squares off against a guy who'd rather wrestle a rattlesnake than kiss an HOA's boots, stick around. This one's wild. Drop a comment below. Have you ever dealt with a Karen? It all kicked off innocently enough, or so I thought. I'd been living on my family's ranch in Willow Creek, Texas, for 5 years, minding my own business, raising cattle, and sipping sweet tea on my porch like a true Texan. The land's been ours since 1923, when my great-grandpa Hank roped it off with barbed wire and a handshake. Fast forward to last summer, and the Willow Creek HOA, led by the one and only Karen Thompson, decided my 200 acres were the perfect spot for their shiny new solar panel project. Never mind that I owned it. Never mind that I'd said no. Karen doesn't hear no. She hears try me. The first hint of trouble showed up when I found a letter taped to my gate, bright yellow paper, HOA logo stamped like it was a royal decree. Dear Mr. Miller, it read, the Willow Creek Homeowners Association has voted to install solar panels on the unused portion of your property for the betterment of the community. Construction begins next week. I laughed so hard my dog, Buster, gave me a side eye like I'd lost my mind. Unused? My cattle graze there. Community betterment? They just wanted cheaper bills for their McMansions 3 miles down the road. I crumpled it up, tossed it into the fire pit, and figured that was the end of it. Boy, was I wrong. 2 days later, I'm out fixing a fence when I spotted a drone zipping across my pasture, darting between my cows like it's filming a wildlife special. I waved my hat at it, thinking some kid was playing around, but then it swooped closer, and I caught the sticker, property of Willow Creek HOA. My blood ran hot. Karen wasn't just sending letters, she was spying on me. I snatched my phone, snapped a photo, and called my buddy Tom, a lawyer in Austin. Tom, I said, you ever hear of an HOA using drones to mess with people? He chuckled. Jake, you've got a real gem there. Check your deed. Old ranches like yours have secrets baked in. That night, I climbed into the attic, past moth-eaten quilts and Grandpa Hank's dusty whiskey stash, until I found it. The original deed, yellowed and crisp, with a handwritten note tucked inside. Covenant of 1923, it said. No entity, public or private, may encroach upon this land without consent of the Miller bloodline. My heart skipped a beat. Grandpa Hank, you crafty old fox, you just handed me a legal lifeline. I didn't know it yet, but Karen had no idea what she'd stepped into. Meanwhile, across town, Karen was holding court at the HOA meeting, her voice cutting through the clubhouse like a chainsaw through butter. Jake Miller's a dinosaur, she sneered, flipping her bleached bob. That ranch is a blight, and those solar panels are going in whether he likes it or not. The board nodded like obedient puppets, sipping their lattes, blind to the chaos brewing. She'd already ordered the panels, $50,000 worth, and hired a shady contractor named Dave who reeked of cheap cologne and bad decisions. Karen figured she'd bulldoze me with bureaucracy and a fake smile. She didn't count on me pushing back. Back at the ranch, I couldn't shake it. That drone lingered in my mind, Karen's smug face behind it, scheming. I stepped outside, the night air cool, stars blazing over the hills. Then I saw it again, that same drone, gliding over my barn like a nosy phantom. Oh, hell no, I muttered. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't just about land. This was war. And with Grandpa Hank's ace tucked away, I was ready to fight. So there I was, Jake Miller, standing in my barn at midnight, flashlight in one hand, a broom in the other, ready to knock Karen's drone out of the sky like it was a pesky fly crashing a barbecue. That little spy gadget floated overhead, its presence taunting me, and I wasn't about to let it glide back to HOA headquarters with footage of my cows, or worse, me stumbling around in my boxers. I swung the broom, missed by a country mile, and nearly face-planted into a hay bale. Fine, I growled. You want to play dirty, Karen? Let's dance. The next morning, I barreled into town, deed clutched tight, and met Tom at Betty's diner over pancakes and black coffee. He slid his glasses down, eyeing Grandpa Hank's covenant like it was a winning lottery ticket. Jake, he said, grinning, this is ironclad. No one's touching your land without your blessing. But that drone? That's a privacy violation. Texas law doesn't mess around with that. I leaned back, syrup dripping off my fork. So what's our play? Tom's eyes sparkled. We sue. But first, let's have some fun. Beat her at her own game. Fun? Oh, I was all in for that. Meanwhile, Karen was in her glory, strutting around the HOA office, a converted garage with peeling paint and a flickering welcome sign. She'd pinned a map of my ranch to the wall, red X's marking her solar panel takeover zones. Dave, she snapped at the contractor, who was scrolling TikTok like it was his full-time job. Start digging tomorrow. Miller won't notice till it's too late. Dave grunted. You sure he won't chase me off with a shotgun? Karen smirked. He's all talk, no guts. Besides, I've got proof he agreed. She waved a forged letter, my signature scribbled in what looked like a toddler's crayon. Dave shrugged. Your call, lady. Back at the ranch, I wasn't sitting idle. Tom had a friend, Sarah, who ran a drone shop in Austin. By noon, I was unboxing my own high-tech weapon, a sleek black beauty with a camera sharper than Karen's attitude. If she's watching me, I told Buster, who tilted his head like he was taking notes, I'm watching her right back. That afternoon, I sent it soaring over the HOA clubhouse, catching Karen mid-rant, waving that fake letter like it was holy scripture. I saved the footage, grinning like a kid on Christmas. Two could play this spy game, and I just RSVP'd to the party. The next day, things kicked up a notch. I'm out checking my herd when I spot dust clouds rolling in, Dave's truck, hauling a trailer stacked with solar panels, barreling straight onto my land. I sprinted to the gate, hard hammering, and planted myself like a human roadblock. Turn around, pal, I shouted. Dave leaned out, chewing a toothpick. HOA says this is theirs now. Got papers. He flashed Karen's forgery. I let out a laugh, loud and wild enough to spook my cows. Buddy, you're about to walk into a legal shredder. Leave, or I call the sheriff. Dave hesitated, then peeled out, leaving tire tracks and a string of curses. Score one for Jake. That night, I pulled up my drone footage on my laptop, Karen's forged letter crystal clear on the screen. I called Tom. She's faking my signature now. What's next? Stealing my identity. Tom whistled. That's a felony. We've got her, Jake. But let's reel her in slow. Make her think she's winning. I loved it. Karen thought she was the queen of this chess match, but I was about to flip the whole table. Across town, Karen wasn't resting either. She paced her spotless kitchen, sipping wine from a glass big enough to double as a punch bowl. He can't stop progress, she muttered, glaring at a photo of me she'd printed from the HOA newsletter, like I was some outlaw on a wanted poster. She dialed Dave. Double the drones tomorrow. I want eyes on that ranch around the clock. Dave groaned. That's extra cash. Karen snapped. Bill it to the HOA. This is war. She had no idea I was already 2 moves ahead, my own drone charging in the barn, poised to catch her every slip. Back at the ranch, I sat on my porch, the Deeb beside me, Buster snoring at my feet. The stars glowed brighter, like Grandpa Hank was tipping his hat from above, proud. Karen thought she'd drown me in paperwork and panels, but I had history, law, and a little tech in my corner. The fight was heating up, and I couldn't wait to see her squirm when she realized she'd tangled with the wrong rancher. By now, I was in deep, knee-deep in a war I didn't start but was damn sure going to finish. My ranch had turned into a battlefield, with Karen's drones circling overhead like vultures eyeing a fresh kill. I'd caught her forging my signature, and with Grandpa Hank's covenant in my back pocket, I felt like a cowboy with a loaded 6-shooter. But Karen? She wasn't backing off, she was doubling down, and I was about to make her regret it. The morning after Dave's failed invasion, I woke to a sight that'd make any rancher's blood boil. Tire tracks crisscrossing my pasture, left by some midnight trespasser. I grabbed my binoculars and spotted a crew, 3 guys in orange vests, unloading solar panels near my creek. Karen hadn't just sent Dave back. She'd hired a whole squad. I stormed over, boots kicking up dust, and hollered, "You're on private land, pack it up." The lead guy, a wiry fella named Mike, smirked. HOA says this is theirs. Talk to Karen. I grinned back, sharp as a rattlesnake's fangs. Oh, I will. But you're leaving now. They hesitated, then scrammed when I pulled out my phone to dial the sheriff. Karen's minions were bold, but not that bold. Meanwhile, across town, Karen was spinning her web in the HOA clubhouse, pacing like a caged lioness. She'd called an emergency meeting, her bleached bob bouncing with every dramatic gesture. Jake Miller's a nuisance, she declared, slamming a stack of papers on the table, half of them fake. I bet my ranch on it. He's holding up progress with his outdated cowboy act. We'll bury him in fines. The board murmured approval, too scared to cross her. She'd upped the budget too, Another $20,000 for drones and legal fees, courtesy of the HOA's dues. My neighbor Emily, who secretly hated Karen, texted me the scoop. She's losing it, Jake. Watch your back. Back at the ranch, I wasn't just watching, I was plotting. Tom came over, laptop in tow, and we reviewed my drone footage. Karen's forged letter was gold, but we needed more. She's breaking laws left and right, Tom said, tapping the screen. Trespassing, forgery, drone violations. Let's set a trap. His idea? Let her dig deeper while I played dumb. So I called Sarah, my drone guru, and upgraded my setup. 2 more drones, motion sensors, the works. If she wants a show, I told Buster, who wagged his tail like he was in on it. I'll give her one she'll never forget. That afternoon, I flew my drones low, catching Karen's crew sneaking back onto my land with shovels and stakes. I recorded every move, their orange vests glowing like warning signs on my screen. At the same time, Emily was at the HOA meeting, pretending to nod along while texting me updates. Karen's bragging about eminent domain now, she wrote. Says the county's on her side. I laughed. Eminent domain? For solar panels? She was grasping at straws, and I had the footage to prove it. By nightfall, the game shifted again. I'm on my porch, sipping tea, when headlights flash, Dave's truck, rolling up with a trailer of panels, Karen herself in the passenger seat. She hopped out, clipboard in hand, her smile tighter than a new pair of boots. Jake, she chirped, this is your last chance to cooperate. Sign here, and we'll call it even. She thrust a new document at me. Another fake. I could smell the ink fresh off her printer. I leaned in, voice low. Karen, you're trespassing. Leave, or I press charges. Her eyes narrowed. You'll regret this. She stormed off, Dave peeling out behind her, and I knew she'd just lit the fuse on her own downfall. Back in her McMansion, Karen wasn't sleeping, she was scheming. She sat at her desk, surrounded by HOA rulebooks and a half-empty wine bottle, scribbling notes. He thinks he's smart, she muttered, dialing her cousin, a shady county clerk named Lisa. Pull some strings. I need his land rezoned. Lisa sighed. That's risky, Karen. But Karen didn't care. She was all in, blind to the net tightening around her. On my end, I couldn't stop grinning. Tom had filed a complaint with the sheriff about the trespassing, and my drones were racking up evidence like a jackpot slot machine. The covenant was my shield, the law my sword, and Karen's arrogance? That was her Achilles heel. I leaned back, staring at the stars, feeling Grandpa Hank's ghost cheering me on. This wasn't just a fight anymore. It was a reckoning, and I was ready to bring the house down. By this point, I was running on adrenaline and sweet tea, my ranch a fortress under siege by Karen's HOA army. Her drones kept circling, her crews kept trespassing, and I kept stacking evidence like a poker player hiding aces. With Grandpa Hank's covenant as my trump card and Tom's legal wizardry in my corner, I was ready to turn the tables. But Karen? She was about to roll the dice on her wildest move yet, and I couldn't wait to call her bluff. The morning after her late-night visit, I woke to a sheriff's cruiser pulling up my drive, dust swirling around the tires like a storm cloud with a badge. Sheriff Daniels, a no-nonsense guy with a mustache thicker than my fence posts, stepped out. Jake, he said, tipping his hat, got a complaint from the HOA. Says you're harassing them with drones. I nearly choked on my coffee. Harassing them? I invited him in, showed him my footage, Karen's crews, her forged papers, her drones over my barn. His jaw tightened. This ain't right. I'll look into it. I grinned. Appreciate it, Sheriff. Tell Karen I said hi. He tipped his hat again and left, but I knew she'd just poked the wrong bear. Meanwhile, Karen was across town, orchestrating her next strike from her HOA war room. She'd turned the clubhouse into a command center. Maps, coffee cups, and a whiteboard scribbled with Miller Plan in red marker. She'd roped in Lisa, her county clerk cousin, who dug up an old zoning loophole. It's shaky, Lisa warned, twirling her pen, but I can push a rezoning request through. Might scare him off. Karen's eyes gleamed. Do it. And send more drones, flood his ranch with them. She wasn't just fighting now. She was spiraling, and I had a front row seat. Back at the ranch, I wasn't twiddling my thumbs. Tom swung by with news. The sheriff had opened an investigation into Karen's trespassing, and my drone footage was exhibit A. She's cooked, Tom said, slapping the table. But let's push her over the edge, file a countersuit. Invasion of privacy, forgery, the works. I nodded, picturing Karen's face when she got served. Then Sarah called. My drone upgrades were live, complete with night vision and a live feed to my phone. She wants a drone war? I told Buster, who perked up like he smelled trouble. She's got one. That afternoon, the skies over my ranch turned into a sci-fi movie, Karen's drone swooping low, my drones tailing them, cameras flashing like paparazzi at a red carpet. I caught her crew sneaking back, planting stakes near my creek again, and sent the footage straight to Tom. At the same time, Emily texted from the HOA meeting. Karen's losing it, yelling about eminent domain and community rights. She's claiming you're a public menace. I laughed so hard Buster barked. A menace? Me? The guy just trying to keep his cows happy? Then came the showdown. I'm fixing a gate when Karen rolls up, this time with a county official in tow, a nervous guy named Greg clutching a clipboard. Mr. Miller, Greg stammered, the county's reviewing your land's zoning. It might be reclassified for public use. Karen smirked behind him, arms crossed like she'd already won. I stepped closer, voice calm but steel hard. Greg, you're being fed lies. Check my deed, 1923 covenant, untouchable. And Karen? You're on camera forging my name. Sheriff's got it all. Greg paled. Karen's smirk vanished. You're bluffing, she hissed. I shrugged. Try me. She stormed off, dragging Greg with her, but the cracks were showing. That night, back in her kitchen, Karen was unraveling. She paced, wineglass trembling, muttering, he can't prove anything. Lisa called, voice shaky. Karen, the rezoning's dead, his deed's legit. And the sheriff's asking questions. Karen slammed the phone down, eyes wild. She was cornered, and she knew it, but she wasn't done swinging. On my porch, I watched the stars, my phone pinging with drone alerts, Karen's last desperate scouts over my land. Tom's countersuit was filed, the sheriff was circling, and Emily was feeding me HOA gossip. Karen thought she'd bluff her way to victory, but I'd built a wall of proof she couldn't climb. Grandpa Hank's legacy was holding strong, and I could almost hear him laughing from the heavens. This was my ranch, my fight, and Karen was about to learn what happens when you bid against a Miller. I had reached the endgame, my ranch still standing, my drones humming, and Karen's HOA schemes teetering on the edge of ruin. With Grandpa Hank's covenant as my shield, Tom's legal firepower as my cannon, and a mountain of evidence from my high-tech toys, I was ready to finish this. Karen, though? She was clinging to her throne like a queen in a sinking castle, and I couldn't wait to watch it all come crashing down. The next morning, I got the call from Tom, court date set tomorrow. Sheriff's testifying, and your footage is locked and loaded. I grinned, picturing Karen's face when she saw her forged letter blown up on a courtroom screen. That day, I suited up, boots polished, hat tipped low, and drove to the Willow Creek courthouse, Buster watching me go like he knew I was off to slay a dragon. The air buzzed with tension as I walked in, townsfolk whispering in the halls. Word had spread. The rancher versus the HOA tyrant was the showdown of the year. Meanwhile, Karen was prepping her last stand. She strutted into the courthouse in a power suit, heels clicking like she owned the place, Lisa trailing behind with a stack of dubious papers. She'd spent the night cobbling together a defense, half-baked claims about community need, and a rezoning plea that had already flopped. He's a bully, she hissed to her board members, who'd shown up for moral support or to watch the train wreck. I'll crush him. But her hand shook as she clutched her coffee, and I could smell the panic from across the room. The courtroom was packed, Emily in the back, texting me play-by-plays, Sheriff Daniels up front, and Tom beside me, cool as a cucumber. The judge, a stern woman named Clara with zero patience for nonsense, called us up. Tom laid it out, trespassing, forgery, privacy violations, all backed by my drone footage, time-stamped and crystal clear. Karen's crew sneaking onto my land. Her drones over my barn, that fake letter with my name scrawled like a bad joke. It was a slam dunk. The sheriff nodded along, confirming he'd caught her minions red-handed. Karen's turn came, and oh, she tried. She stood tall, voice dripping with fake sincerity. Your Honor, Mr. Miller's obstructing progress. The HOA acted in good faith for the community. She waved her forged papers, claiming I'd agreed. Tom pounced. Objection. Those are falsified. We have the originals, plus video of Ms. Thompson drafting them. The screen lit up. There she was, in her clubhouse, scribbling away. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Karen's face went white, then red, then white again, like a malfunctioning stoplight. The judge wasn't having it. Ms. Thompson, Clara snapped. You violated property laws, fabricated evidence, and wasted this court's time. Explain yourself, Karen stammered. I thought it was legal. Clara cut her off. Ignorance isn't a defense. Sit down. The gavel slammed, and I swear I felt Grandpa Hank high-fiving me from the beyond. Tom whispered, "We've got her, Jake. This is over." Back at her McMansion, chaos reigned. Word of the hearing spread like wildfire. Emily texted me that the HOA board was in revolt, demanding Karen step down. Lisa called, frantic. "They're auditing us, Karen. Your legal fees drained the budget." Karen paced, wine glass empty, yelling at shadows. "I'll appeal." He can't win. But her phone kept pinging, residents furious, her allies bailing. She'd built her kingdom on sand, and the tide was rolling in. On my ranch, I celebrated quietly. Tea on the porch, Buster at my feet, my drones resting in the barn. The judge hadn't ruled yet, but the writing was on the wall. Karen was done. My land was safe, and her solar panels? They'd be mine soon enough. I leaned back, staring at the stars, feeling lighter than I had in months. This wasn't just a win. It was justice, served Texas style, and Karen's last stand had turned into her last fall. Here I am standing on my porch with the sun dipping low, painting my ranch in gold. A view Karen tried to steal, but couldn't touch. The courtroom dust had settled, and I'd come out on top. Grandpa Hank's covenant my winning hand, and Karen's empire a pile of rubble. This wasn't just a fight for my land. It was a Texas-sized lesson in picking the wrong enemy. Stick around to the end, folks, and let me know in the comments. What would you do with a nosy HOA tyrant like Karen? Subscribe if you've enjoyed this wild ride. I've got more stories where this came from. The judge's ruling hit like a thunderclap a week after the hearing. Clara didn't mince words. "Ms. Thompson, you've abused your position, broken laws, and harassed a private citizen. The HOA's claims are dismissed." Then the kicker, my countersuit won. Trespassing, forgery, privacy violations, all pinned on Karen. The penalties? A cool $75,000 in damages, plus court costs, straight to me. And those solar panels she dumped on my land? Legally mine now, along with a chunk of HOA property as compensation. 5 acres of their precious community green space. I laughed so hard Buster howled along, thinking it was a game. Meanwhile, Karen's world imploded. Back at her McMansion, she watched movers haul out her furniture. Turns out, she'd sunk her savings into the HOA war chest, and the bank was foreclosing. Emily texted me the gossip. "She's done, Jake. Board fired her. Residents want her head on a platter." Karen stood on her lawn, yelling at the movers, her bleached bob a mess, wine stains on her blouse. "This is Miller's fault," she screeched, but no one cared. Her drones? Confiscated by the sheriff. Her reputation? Toast. By sundown, a for sale sign stabbed her yard, and whispers said she'd fled to Florida, probably to terrorize some poor condo association next. On my end, victory tasted sweet. Tom swung by with the paperwork, grinning ear to ear. "You're a legend, Jake." HOA scrambling. They're broke and begging for peace. I signed the deeds, officially claiming my new solar panels and that extra land. Sarah helped me hook the panels up, free power for the ranch, courtesy of Karen's obsession. The 5 acres? I turned it into a pasture extension, my cows munching happily where her dreams once stood. Every time I flipped a switch or watched my herd graze, I tipped my hat to Grandpa Hank. His 1923 trick had saved the day, and I'd finished the job. The town couldn't stop talking. At Betty's Diner, folks slapped my back, calling me the ranch rebel. Sheriff Daniels even winked, saying, "Next time, Jake, just call me first. I'd have hauled her off sooner." Emily spilled the final scoop. The HOA dissolved, too broke and embarrassed to limp on. Karen's reign was a memory, replaced by a quiet Willow Creek where people minded their own fences. I'd not only won, I'd rewritten the rules. That night, I sat on my porch, tea in hand, Buster sprawled beside me. The stars glittered, brighter than ever, and I felt Grandpa Hank's pride beaming down. My drones rested in the barn, their work done, my land secure. Those panels glowed faintly in the distance. Karen's legacy, now mine. I'd turned her war into my win, and the peace was worth every second of the fight. So what's next? Who knows? Maybe another Karen's out there, itching for a showdown. But for now, I'm just a rancher with a story, a dog, and a ranch that's mine forever. Drop a comment. What's your craziest neighbor story? Hit that subscribe button if you want more tales from the front lines of small town chaos.